Lawn Solutions Australia is bringing the world's leading turf varieties to both your local golf course and home lawn. With superior turf varieties like Tiff Tough Hybrid Bermuda, Sir Grange Zoysia and the newly launched Zoysia Australis, available exclusively through Lawn Solutions Australia, we have the perfect lawn for you. For more information or to find your local accredited supplier, visit lawnsolutionsaustralia.com.au. That's lawnsolutionsaustralia.com.au.
I've never seen anything like it before, and to attempt to hit the ball out of there is pure madness.
The winner of the gold medal and the champion golfer of the year is Cameron Smith.
This is the one that I've always wanted to win since I was a little kid. So it just feels pretty amazing to be able to get it done today.
It's amazing that it's my destiny to be the first Aussie to win. Just incredible.
Hello and welcome to episode 83 of Playing from the Tips, the podcast from Golf Australia magazine that covers all corners of professional golf and tries to make sense and some nonsense of what is coming in the week ahead. Jimmy Emanuel here, back in the traditional host chair and country of Australia as we delve into the Alfred Dunhill Links Championship, Sanderson Farms Championship and Mercuries Taiwan Masters. We'll also mention a little bit about the upcoming Asia Pacific Amateur Championship on this week. Joining me to do so is the man who puts odd in podcasting, columnist, talker, general all-round golf man, Rod Murray. Rod, welcome.
I've never heard the odd in podcast joke across any genre of podcast, let alone golf, Jimmy. For that alone, this episode will go down in history. Fantastic. Thank you very much. I love it.
Well, I've been on planes for about 30 hours. I haven't slept much, so that was
the mind goes to strange places, doesn't it, when it's got nothing to occupy it?
Exactly. And secondly, it is fortunate that our international man of mystery, Adrian Logue, is out of action yet again, because our next guest has had this week circled in the calendar all year. Huge Taiwan Masters man, none other than Corn Ferry Tour winner, TV commentator, Next Gen Amateur Tour founder, Ewan Porter. Ports, welcome back.
Thanks, Jimmy. Thanks, Rod. Pleasure to be here. And, partner as well of Adrian Logue at Bullet GC.
Of course. And
can't all be upside, Ewan. There's got to be something in there that's bringing it down, mate. It keeps you real.
Yes. Gents, it might surprise you, given you both know I've been all over the world in the last couple of days. I haven't seen a lot of golf. So in our little highlights and lowlights of last week, I'm going to throw to you two to more discuss around the American 18.5 to 11.5 victory in the President's Cup at Royal Montreal last week. What were the takeaways from last week's event?
I'll let you go first, Ewan. Well, I was going to let you go first since you're a player, and I think that probably gives you a different perspective on what the whole atmosphere of something like a President's Cup might be like.
Well, it threatened to be pretty close, didn't it, after day two? 5-0 whitewash to the Americans day one, 5-0 whitewash to us, the internationals, day two, and all of a sudden thought we've got a game of this, but again, outclassed. I don't know. Adam Scott said in his post-match press conference that he feels that there's a bond developing under the shield, he called it, the international shield. They do seem to be working more cohesively as a team than what they did years ago. Tom Kim and his antics were probably a little polarising throughout the week. I got to say, when him and I think it was day one, maybe day two, when him and was he playing with Siwoo Kim, and they hold a putt, walked off the green to the ninth tee while Scheffler still had to putt. That's not on. I don't like that. I got to be honest, it's actually one of my bugbears when I watch a lot of the junior events and the amateur events these days too. There seems to be the etiquette's not quite what it was when I was coming through, players just walking off and going to the next tee. I think whilst the game is transforming and hopefully reaching new audiences and demographics and so on, I still think that, you have to uphold the traditions a little bit. And I think etiquette and respect goes a long way. I wasn't a massive fan of that. But in saying that, it was captivating to watch for the most part. But like I said, the Americans were the stronger team, and I'm all for a mixed President's Cup. It's been spoken about for a long time, and I think it has to happen. I really don't understand why the PGA Tour keep flogging a dead horse. Surely it's got to reach an even broader audience, getting the women involved as well in different countries, different commercial aspects. I just think it's a win-win for everyone. That's my take, Rod.
Yeah. You have to wonder, Ewan, whether it's a lucrative dead horse that they flog, and that's why they flog it. I wonder whether there's more money in the product they've got at the moment than expanding to a broader audience and the return on investment. That's what I suspect. That I agree with you. I don't think it's the right thing to do, but I wonder whether that's it. I'm interested to hear all that. Welcome to the Old Man Club. Grumpy old man about etiquette. Fantastic, Ewan. Just told us before we started recording you're into gardening now. You're coming along nicely, mate. I've been working on Ewan for a while, Jimmy, and he's just coming along nicely into the fold.
It was a very good little rant there because it's of another grumpy old man and favourite of the show, John Huggin, and I saw TK Chantananawat, Thailand teen superstar, walk probably 200 yards away from a player putting out at the Asia Pacific in Thailand a couple of years ago, and it was just unbelievable. So that's one of my bugbears too. So I'm getting old too.
I agree with you. On the upside, if you look at this through different lenses, in terms of the competition itself and the President's Cup going forward, this is the first really interesting one since 2019, and before that we had 2015. We seem to skip these sort of years, but I agree. The scoreline doesn't reflect the closeness of the event, I don't feel like. It wasn't the blowout that it looks like. That 5-0 thing that happened, that was you couldn't wait for day 3. 2 late matches on Saturday that they could have and should have halved or won. The internationals lost, and suddenly instead of being square, you're 2 or 3 or 4 points behind. So in that sense, but it's the first really interesting President's Cup, I think, for a while, for a whole bunch of reasons. Part of what you're talking about, Ewan, I agree with you. I don't like it either. But what it does do, for the first time ever really, there's a feeling of a bit of genuine niggle there. Generationally, you've now got a team of international players who've grown up aspiring to play the President's Cup rather than having it foisted upon them. And so I think you're right, there's a change. Adam Scott's crucial to this event, whether it stays mixed for the next 10, 15 years, because I think he's genuinely invested. Siwoo Kim, to me, is the other one. He looks like a guy who's been wanting to do this every time he tees up at the President's Cup. He's amazing. So I thought there were some real positives to come out of it. If it's to remain a men's-only event, I think it's always going to be Ryder Cup light, and it'll suffer from that. But I think the event itself will get better and more competitive. That's what it felt like to me. It was a positive for the President's Cup. We've walked away from others' President's Cups and gone, whew, that's a nasty wound that's been inflicted there. The one in 2017, I think it was. Was it in New Jersey at Liberty National?
Yeah.
It was basically over Saturday night if Anaban Lahiri hadn't holed a 10-foot putt. So it was over at 10 o'clock Sunday morning. It wasn't that. That was terrible. This wasn't that. This was entertaining the whole time. And we always say it about the Cups. It kind of doesn't matter really who wins as long as the golf's good and it's entertaining. And I thought, for the most part, both of those boxes got ticked for not – well, it doesn't happen often enough in the President's Cup. There's been a couple of examples, but this was another one. So who knows?
Yeah. I think that's a pretty common takeaway for everyone from last week. So there was also a few other little highlights. Lucy Lee. Everyone knows Lucy Lee from qualifying for the US, losing in a playoff to Jasmine Suwananapur, and Angel Hilgardo outdueling John Rahm in Spain. There's plenty of good stuff on last week.
That's fairy tale stuff. You, and as a player, and this is not disparaging in any way, really good player, clearly Hidalgo. It's kind of the equivalent of maybe Ewan Porter beating Greg Norman at the Australian Open, isn't it? It really is fairy tale stuff.
Well, I think actually, that probably was never going to happen. But Craig Spence, when he did beat Norman in 1990,
Great call. Yep.
I think Spency was 23 or 24, and it was only 3 or 4 years prior to that he was walking the fairways, watching Norman as the Pied Piper there. And Hidalgo mentioned that he was there 3 years ago in the crowd just watching Rahm, supporting him when Rahm won. So to go toe-to-toe with him and beat him down the stretch in a all-Spanish trio final group, the crowds looked incredible. That golf course had some amazing views in one of the great cities of the world. It was certainly one of the events of the year on the DP World Tour.
It's complex what makes a good golf event, isn't it? It's not a simple formula. You feel like the simple formula, get the big name players and then you've got a successful golf event. It just isn't that simple. All of those elements there, you can't.
Yeah.
People try to manufacture that, but you can't. When it happens, like you said, the crowds on Sunday were amazing. Yeah, and to the Craig Spence example, that's a perfect one. You and I'd forgotten about that. But that was a great moment in Australian golf. Still see the highlight almost as often as Clay's falling on his ball.
The six iron he hit, if you haven't seen it, anyone listening, I don't know if it's on YouTube, but 6 iron, 72nd hole at Huntingdale, 1999, hit it to 3 feet. That was one of the great final holes in Australian golf, wasn't it? The way they lined that final hole.
Yep.
Great moment.
Brad Hughes
Peter.
did 3-iron in there in the early 90s. You remember one of the all-time great Australian golf shots and great moments. So, yeah, fabulous stuff.
Peter Lonard called, for an article in Golf Australia magazine, called that Craig Spence 6-iron the best shot he's ever seen, because he was obviously very good mates with Spency, and he was stood up on top of a table at the bar at Huntingdale cheering as it landed. So there you go.
The glory.
That tells you a lot about both Pete, Spence, and Greg, I think. So there you go.
Yeah.
All of that action last week did come in a big week for us. We actually had 7 top 10s, and including 2 runners-up and a win, all of which takes us to 25 wins, 135 top 10s for the year, which I believe Rod's been telling everyone in the St Leonard's area are numbers unrivaled for a golf podcast in its 83rd episode. That true, Rod?
You're 100% true. That's verifiable fact. Nobody can dispute that. I dare
no one can
to try.
Yeah, no one can dispute that fact. All right, on to this week's golf. And despite Ewan's appetite to talk Taiwan and what he calls the Masters, we're going to start in Europe. And Rod, you're going to tell us about the Alfred Dunhill Links Championship.
Well, I'll tell you bits and pieces. This is one of the great golf events, I think. But Ewan, I wanted to ask you, have you ever played this event?
Played it twice. It's one of the great events of the year. It's always played at this time, first week of October. It is generally freezing, misty rain, breezy. I mean, the temperature never really gets out of the single digits. The top 25 from the previous year's order of merit on the tour here in Australia are always exempt, and generally 1, maybe 2 of those players will make the cut. The cut is always under par for the 3 rounds, and it never ceases to amaze me how well the locals adapt to those conditions. Because I remember when I played, I was freezing for 6 hours and couldn't wait to get inside, but somehow it was still a great experience.
You touch on this. So for those not familiar, there's 3 courses in play here. It's a prime. This is kind of the European version of what you see at Pebble Beach. But I think for all the reasons you've outlined, Ewan, which any accountant would tell you, you can't hold a golf tournament at that time of the year. It never gets out of single digits. People all hate it. It'll be awful. But in fact, in golf terms, it's a real badge of honor. I imagine if you're a celebrity in Hollywood and you go play this, a little badge of honor on you, you know, that's proper golf. You play in the wind and the rain and, you know, it's nasty. It's proper. So I really like this event. I'm not a big fan of the Pebble Beach Pro, but this one I think really works because it's authentic golf, isn't it, Ewan? Everyone there is a keen golfer. Nobody's there because they work for a company and have never touched a golf club. You'd have encountered that in pros. People who've never played the game and they've been sent along by that. There's none of that, is there, in this one, I don't think, or not much anyway.
No, you're right. I mean, there's a lot of celebs that play, but the ones that do play are all decent golfers, and same with the business people that are there, and men and women. And great event. The post-round festivities really from Monday right through Sunday are unrivaled on any tour around the world. And it's, I'd give anything to go back and play or commentate. I mean, I'm happy to be doing this podcast with you guys from the Southern Highlands, but I would love to be.
Given a choice, Ewan, we might finish second. I fully endorse that position. The Old Course, St Andrews, Carnoustie and Kingsbarns are the 3 courses. I've played the Old Course and Carnoustie, never played Kingsbarns, but it doesn't look like there's anything about it that is anything but interesting. It's all genuine links golf. Carnoustie's all the golf course you'd want to handle, isn't it, Ewan? That's a tough day out.
Nasty. It ate me for breakfast, my first Open. But, I always tell people you think, what golf course do you go to? You play badly, you play in poor conditions, and you just want to go back for more. It never happens, but it does when you go and play links golf. Yeah,
it's exactly right. This is proper links golf, which is what really draws me to this. In conditions we don't often see. We generally see links golf in the height of summer in the UK when everything's beautiful. You can get a lot of wind, but this tests a whole bunch of it. This is what I call 3-dimensional golf. Celebrities are a big deal, Jimmy. I'm not strong on celebrities, as you know. Let me read out some of the names. I'll see which ones you knew, and I'll tell you which ones I. Who's John Elway?
Is it
NFL?
Played NFL.
Okay.
Yeah.
Owns the Denver Broncos.
Well done, John. Rude Gullit, RWDGULLIT. I'm going to guess soccer.
Yeah, I'm going to also say football, yes.
Yeah.
Kevin Peterson's golf. Steve Redgrave's an Olympian. Sir A.P. McCoy.
Jockey.
Well done. Jimmy Anderson.
Cricketer.
Yeah. Kelly Slater, we all know.
Yep.
This is where I start to fall off a bit. Catherine Newton. Now, I've seen her at other pros. I think I've seen her at Pebble Beach. She's an actress, isn't she?
Actress, not a bad golfer. Does
Good
a bit of
golfer.
work with the R&A and everything like that.
Played college golf, I think, Ewan?
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Michael Douglas I've heard of. Now, here we go, Jimmy. Tom Chaplin.
Olympic diver?
Yeah, great call. Singer from, I think, a band called Keane. Keane. Here's one for you, Ewan. Tico Torres.
Well, Tico Torres, he's a soccer player, footballer.
Yeah, of course he is, from Brazil. When he's not drumming for Bon Jovi. Dave Farrell.
His brother Perry's the lead singer of Jane's Addiction.
Yeah.
Is that
Not
right?
anymore. They had a fight on stage the other day, actually, so I don't think anymore, but anyway.
This could be true. This Dave Farrell is apparently the basis for the recently reformed Linkin Park, which I'm guessing is a band, Jimmy?
Oh,
They are indeed, yes.
Dave Farrell, I've only ever known him by his stage name. His stage name is Phoenix, and he's best mates with Brendan Steele.
What a revelation you've been today, Porter, from the Garden to the 6 degrees of separation, from the PGA Tour to Linkin Park. There you go. So for any of our listeners who do know who those people are, chance you'll see them on the coverage this week because they're all playing in the event. Of the proper golfers, good field. Rory play again. He's playing with his dad, which he likes to do. Defending champion Matt Fitzpatrick, who won the team event and the individual professional title with his mum Susan last year, which is fantastic. So they're back to them. That was a terrific story. Host of Live Players. Now, there's a bit of a comment in this, don't you think, Jimmy? Johan Rupert, who is the head of the company that runs Alfred Dunhill, sponsoring this week, probably one of the most influential people in world golf, you would think, at that professional level, has invited several Live players to be part of the event, which is great for the event, makes for a good field. Brooks Koepka, Louis Westhuizen, Patrick Reed, Tyrrell Hatton, John Rahm, Taylor Gooch, Peter Uihlein, Brandon Grace, Dean Burmester. There's probably a couple more. I think Matt Jones also got an invite from Australia. Yeah, so there's a whole bunch in the field. Jimmy, should we read anything into this? Is Johan Rupert, the South African billionaire, sending a message to the PGA and DP World Tours about the situation with Liv, or are we reading too much into it and he's going to just afford to buy a great field?
No, well, he kind of did it last year as well. He invited a fair few along last year and wasn't shy in saying that he wants to have the best field for his event and that he's going to put on the best event, and these players have been coming and supporting it. He's had a long relationship with some of the South Africans like Louis Oosthuizen and a few others. Tyrrell Hatton used to win this event for fun. So it's all this sort of stuff where it's for all intents and purposes, it's a bit of a standalone operator event that he runs that's DP World Tour sanctioned. So he's running the event the way he wants to.
Yeah. Always contentious sponsors invites, aren't they, Ewan? We get very sensitive about them. We see it particularly in America when the footballers or stars get invited along to get a spot in a tournament. What's your take on that? And what are the rules around that? Can Johan invite anybody you like? Can he invite his 10-marker mate? Surely you can't do that in a professional event.
Yeah, look. I mean, there are certain limits, I guess you could say, to who you can and can't invite. It becomes very technical on the PGA Tour. They have what they call restricted and unrestricted invites. I'm not going to get into all the technicalities of it all. The DP World Tour is a little more free with who and how they can invite people. But just going back to who's been invited this week, I'm a big fan of it. And to me, you don't have to be pro PGA Tour or pro Live or against one or the other. I'm pro a great field, like I think most people are. It's a great tournament at arguably the greatest venue or venues in golf, and it should attract the best players, and it has. I mean, essentially the Ryder Cup teams here, the Højgaard twins, are playing, and it's a great international flavour. Yeah, it's going to be a great week.
Yeah, it's a lovely UK swing, this, isn't it? We've got Wentworth, you've got this event, we had the Irish Open. It's a really nice day. The Spanish Open really delivered this year, probably one of the lesser profile most years, but this year it really delivered. So it's a good time. Anyway, if you don't want to see John Rahm and Brooks Koepka and Patrick Reed and these guys play the old course at St Andrews, maybe you might look for something else to do as a spectating recreation. Because I agree with you, at the end of the day, you get to see these guys play this course, and if you're a golf fan, that's kind of what you want to see. So, and this is one of the few weeks I think does it with a lot less controversy. I think people mention it like I just did, and most people go, yeah, well, he just wants a good field, and that's what he's got, so let's just get on and watch the golf. So we'll get that this week.
Yep.
For all of that, I guess you want to tip, Jimmy.
I sure do, Rod. You may as well lead us off.
Well, Rahm feels like last week's frustration might have him in a feisty mood, and normally I'd pick him in a feisty mood, but this is only the second time he's played here, and he missed the cut first time round. So don't know what that means for this week. But under those circumstances, I'm going with the man you already mentioned, the Tyrrell Corporation, because as you say, he basically wins this stuff for fun. And I think he would really enjoy winning against this particular field too.
I think that's a very, very wise pick. Ewan, to you?
You mentioned the Irish Open. Rasmus Højgaard defeated Rory down the stretch there, an amazing back nine. He's been playing some fantastic golf. His twin brother, Nikolai, hasn't been playing great golf. He's missed a few cuts in a row. And if you look back to his victories on the DP World Tour, they've generally come off the back of poor golf. I'm going with Nikolai. I think he's going to beat a strong field this week. He enjoys playing the links golf typically, and he'll hoist his fourth trophy this week.
Do we know they haven't switched? They're twins. Maybe Rasmus has been in the US for the past couple of months because Nikolai had something to do back home and they've just switched for – they just do that whenever they want. That's fantastic. You get paid an appearance fee to go to Dubai. You don't feel like going. You give Rasmus half and he goes instead. It'd be great fun.
It sticks with the theme, Ewan, at least of when there's a Højgaard, someone on the show will work with a Højgaard. So that's outstanding work from you. I'm going to pick Rory because why not? Someone's got to pick Rory and Rory's got to probably come second here again and go close and miss a putt on 18 at the old course just to go with the theme of his last little run. So why not?
The way Rory's going, Jimmy, he'll win the tournament, but he'll finish second to his dad in their own private competition they're having over the 4 days.
Yeah, that's exactly. It'll be something like that. That's it.
The real heartbreak will be losing to Jerry.
I don't have it in front of me, but I don't know how many times Rory has finished second here, but I know he's finished second at least twice. Can you name the two players that he's finished second to in this tournament?
Oh, this tournament. Okay. Yeah. Was one of them Ollie Wilson?
Correct. Ollie was on the Challenge Tour at the time, and Rory said, I don't like losing. If I'm going to lose to anyone, Ollie's a good guy to lose to.
Ollie's a good guy to lose to, which may tell you something about Rory and why he hasn't turned into Tiger Woods. It's a different sort of mindset, isn't it, that you can be human, and I have no idea who the other one is.
He's a rules official now. Well, actually won 6 times on the DP World Tour. Michael Howe, his country.
Oh, there you go.
Didn't know he was a rules official. Well done. Yeah, good stuff. Well done. Good history.
Nice. Good stat. Good. This is anti-Logue stuff from you. It is. This is fantastic.
Want to work less and play more golf? Well, you can. If you're practicing your putting or your drives, Tiff Tough Hybrid Bermuda, exclusively by Lawn Solutions Australia, can bring the golf course experience right to your home. With superior drought tolerance, speedy recovery and toughness, Tiff Tough is the smart grass. For more information, visit lawnsolutionsaustralia.com.au. That's lawnsolutionsaustralia.com.au.
Well, let's keep moving along.
We just talk Taiwan. I've been waiting half an hour for this.
No, we're going to get there very quickly. But next, we're going to go to Jackson, Mississippi, PGA Tours, Sanderson Farms Championship. Who is Sanderson Farm? I hear you ask, Ewan. Well, they're an American poultry producer based in Laurel, Mississippi, third largest poultry producer in the United States. How many chickens do they produce per week? 13.65 million chickens a week.
How many they deproduce per week, Jimmy?
How many what?
Produce is an interesting way to describe.
Produce is an amazing way
chickens,
to describe how many chickens they're knocking off each week.
Yeah,
but anyway,
they produce 13 million. How many do they deproduce? That's the real question. You're going to guess it's slightly less, yeah.
Exactly. This is used to be an old opposite field event, was once the Magnolia Classic, and it's now part of the fall schedule. Country Club of Jackson's been the host since 2014. It was they always called it insert sponsor classic. It was always a classic. And then when it went to Jackson, Mississippi, it became a championship. I don't know why. But anyway.
Probably something to do with the population size of the city that's hosting, maybe. You know, it can only be a classic if you've only got this many residents. But once you get over a certain limit, you can have a championship. I don't know.
Well, the irony in that is back in 2015, Peter Malanti won his first win. That was a classic.
Exactly. I prefer classic. I love classic. But anyway. And of course, because Sanderson Farms produces chickens, as we're diplomatically saying, winner gets a big chicken. It's a big chicken trophy. So it makes sense, right?
Tough week for you as a vegan, Jimmy. Why did you get this tournament to do?
There
were others that weren't involving any of this, but yeah, anyway, keep going.
Pretty typical sort of event, field for this sort of event, I should say. Nick Dunlap, Maverick McNeely, Mackenzie Hughes, that's the sort of caliber of your big names. Aaron Badley, the only Aussie. Interestingly, Ryan Fox is here, not at the Alfred Dunhill that he, of course, won with Shane Warne not long before Shane passed away. But he is there and joined by fellow Kiwi and former Manawatu Golf Club greenkeeper Tim Wilkinson. Left-hander who's been injured and doing all sorts of things, but is back playing. So Good luck to Tim, who's a great fella.
Oh. Left-hander who can shoot under par right-hand.
Yeah.
Is that
grew up with a lot of my mates in the sort of Palmerston North area, and is a great fella, Tim. Course is pretty typical of the PGA Tour stuff. Lots of green, lots of trees, quite flat, unknown number of Sahalis in elevation. Shout out to Logue. And it's the dogwood and azalea 9s that make up the tournament layout, because we're rushing through because we've got to get to Taiwan and talk Taiwan. Who do we think is going to win? Ewan, your pick.
I'm going to go with Eric Cole. He's due. He's had 1,000 top tens without getting across the line. It'll either be him or Michael Thorbjornsen. But speaking of grumpy old men, I'm just going to have one more rant. You mentioned Aaron Baddeley, the only Australian in the field. I think that is extremely sad. It's been a point of contention for me for a long time. We need to do something about it. Used to be 20 plus on the PGA Tour. Rod, over to you.
Harder to get there these days, Ewan. To the PGA Tour, you mean? Is that what your complaint is with Aaron being the only one, that we're not producing enough golfers, do you mean? Or
not necessarily. I mean, it's. I think we could do an entire podcast on it, but no, the avenues are all still there. You can get back there through Q School now. You can get there through Corn Ferry, world rankings. Nothing's changed too much. There's just less and less players. Maybe it's cost of living, but it's always been expensive to get to the other side of the world. I'm not 100% sure, but we should be doing something about it.
Interesting. There's a feature piece in there somewhere that you could probably have launched, Ewan. My tip, Henrik Norlander.
Nice.
3 top 5 finishes here in his last 4 appearances. So
he loves the chicken.
Loves the joint, yeah. Obviously a chicken man.
Obviously.
Not sure whether it's leg or breast, but he's a chicken man. We know that.
I'm going to go with the man I mentioned in the preview, Ryan Fox, who I'd say it's a big call for him to be there instead of in Scotland. So good luck to Foxy, who is, I talked about how much of a good guy Tim Wilkinson is. So is Ryan. So go Ryan. Let's get Ewan all up and about again, given we've been going on and on and on, and we've been skirting the issue. Mercury's Taiwan Masters. Rod, you're going to give some details, and then Ewan's just going to fire into a passionate discussion about it.
I will race through this. I've really found this interesting. Actually, the Mercuries Group is this behemoth of a company involved in, retail stores, life insurance, pharmaceuticals, financial services, some engineering support services. Is there anything these people don't do? And I've never seen them outside of America. I found that amazing. So they're a Chinese company, so they're a massive, obviously, operation. This tournament's been going since 1987, peaked, obviously, at some point, which Ewan's going to explain. Sure. Taiwan Golf and Country Club. More reports appears as top course. Here's what is interesting, and this is a little bit of a shout out to Logan, then we'll get to you, Ewan. It's been an 18-hole course since 1929, laid out by the same designer who gave us the Olympic course in Japan in Kasuma Gaseki. And what does that remind us of, Jimmy? Of Logue's famous, if you asked a child to draw a dog, comment. That was his take on Kasuma Gaseki.
Yeah, that's right.
One of the great moments in podcast history.
Yes.
So there you go. Ewan, when you played the Mercury's Taiwan Masters, was it at this course? He's played at one other, I think, occasionally. Yeah,
I've actually not played this one, unfortunately. There was always bucket list for me, really, ever since I started playing golf. But the Mercury's Next Gen series has a nice ring to it. If you've got any contacts there, Rob, that would be national. But no, I know that they played in Taiwan last week, and one of the venues has suffered on previous occasions from typhoons. I believe there's a typhoon just off Taiwan at the moment as well. So it'll be interesting to see if that plays a role in the event. Hopefully it's not cancelled, postponed, shortened, any of that stuff. But I'm just going to delve straight into it, Rod. TC Chen's teeing up this week.
TC, I did not see that in it. I saw Tharwan Wirrachan in the winners list and was going to ask you if you'd ever played with him, because that's a golfer that you'd love to. I didn't see him in the field. I didn't see TC Chen in the field. How old is TC Chen?
I believe he's mid-60s. Wow. It was 39 years ago he was runner-up to Andy North at Oakland Hills in the US Open. 2 chips Chen after that double hit. He actually won at Riviera, 1987, the Nissan Open. I think that was his only PGA Tour win, but I played with him back in 2004 when I first joined the Asian Tour. And, good fella, good player, obviously still can play a little bit. And I was just looking through the entrance. It's a big week for Michael Maguire. He's just been announced as the Broncos coach. He's playing this week in Taiwan as well. Probably not the same Michael Maguire. But I'm going with Chris Broberg this week, 2-time DP World Tour winner. He won Asian Q School last year, 35th on the order of merit. All the talent in the world. He's had a bit of an up-and-down career. But he's another player that's just always dreamed of winning in Taiwan, and I think it'll be out of him or the amateur Leo Cheng, who I know you're a big fan of, Jimmy.
Absolutely. But I'm a big Christopher Brogerberg fan, actually. His story's a good one. He had a real rough trot with injuries and all sorts of other things, and when he came back and won on the DP World Tour, it was a good one. So I like that tip. I'm actually going to tip an Australian because I'm just that kind of guy, and I'm going to tip Justin Warren because he hits it a mile and he's working very, very hard. There's no real form to go off, but what does that matter? This is playing from the tips where form doesn't matter. Rod,
fabulous golfer. I haven't seen him up close for a couple of years, Justin Warren, but I watched him at the New South Wales Open a few years ago. He's one of those players, Ewan, that stood out from the others. The sound was a bit different. Everything about it was just a bit different, just a bit better. He's a really good player and hasn't had the success that you'd expect he will have at some point in his career. I'm going with Miguel Tabuena because he was third last week, and I love the name.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
outstanding. Why wouldn't you? All right. So without a bit of much notice for you guys, we're going to talk a little Asia Pacific Amateur, but I think it's a pretty easy one to talk about. It's, of course, co-run by the RNA and Augusta National. Winner gets a Masters and Open Championship spot. It's the first one I haven't been to in 3 years because I was fortunate enough to travel around with this event for a while. But my colleague at Australian Golf, Paul Munnings, is there and has taken in a Tokyo Swallows baseball game and is just loving life over there. So good luck to Munners over there. Rare for this sort of event, but Jasper Stubbs actually will defend his title at Taiheiyo Club Gotemba in Japan. It's 100 kilometers southwest of Tokyo, redesigned by Rhys Jones and Hideki Matsuyama in 2018. It was host of the World Cup of Golf when Ernie Els and Retief Hoosen won in 2001. Actually would be a time where Logue would be useful because he's probably been there, but who knows? He's not here. So
which doesn't mean that he'd produce anything useful, but at least he would have been there. So that's something.
No, exactly.
Which is more than what he normally brings. It's something.
Exactly. We won't go too deep into the players because we've been going on long enough, but we'll list the Aussies, which are Stubbs, Phoenix Campbell, Tony Chen, Quinn Croker, Billy Dowling, Connor Fuchs, and Lucas Michel, while one of the standouts from last year's China's Wenye Deng is back and also back from Royal Melbourne, my man from Indonesia, Randy Bintang, the Tang Man. Get right around the Tang Man this week.
His name's Randy, Jimmy. How's he the Tang Man? If his name's Randy, he's not being the Tang Man. I understand the beer thing, but there's one taking precedence there, and it's not the Tang.
There was another nickname based off his name that you can probably work out. But anyway, he was a very good kid. He didn't get an Indonesian Open start recently, and I was a bit flat for Randy, but he's here. You have more to do with amateur golf than most people. Anyone in the field here, anything about this week catch your eye particularly?
Well, there's a couple of things. Well, you mentioned Wenye Deng. Deng. He lost the playoff last year. Awesome player. I believe he's playing at ASU at the moment. And just, he's obviously a heck of a golfer. But the thing that interests me is if I'm just looking through the players at the moment, and you look at the countries they're representing, places like Bahrain, Bhutan, Nepal, Laos, Pakistan, Mongolia, Guam. The thing that interests me is the golf federations. You know, what sort of Iran, what sort of program and development are they putting in? And like the fact they do have golfers competing, Lebanon as well. It's fascinating, and there's so much room for growth there, and the opportunities they've got playing here, and no doubt their officials are there on site and networking with people from Golf Australia and other associations, and it's good. It's good for their development, and I expect to see more and more players. I think that's what this championship is all about. It's great to see. But as far as talent goes, I'm going to throw in a dark horse, Robbie Turnbull from New Zealand. He won a couple of our next-gen events last year. He has been on a heater in 2024. He's won quite a few events, both in Australia and New Zealand, including professional events. Josh Bye just played the International Junior President's Cup last week in Canada. He's another player to watch out for. I mean, obviously, I'd love it to be an Australian player. Billy Dowling's coming off a win last week. There's a reason why Aussies have won the last couple. They are, I think, collectively the most talented in the Asia-Pacific region. I'd love to see a New South Wales player in the field, selfishly, which isn't happening, but it's going to be a great event, one of my favourite events of the year.
Agreed.
You mentioned all those countries. John Huggan and I at this event used to have a contest of who could get the most interesting story out of one of the players from one of those smaller countries. And I had Lebanon. I think he had Guam one year. It was outstanding. But it's also a great opportunity. And I did it to poor Martin Blake, the Gazelle, last year, where they have all the flags around the putting green. I, of course, worked out that they were in alphabetical order. And I said to Blakey, do you want to have a contest to see who can name the most flags? And went one by one. And as he got them wrong, and I kept getting them right, and I think it was about 7 or 8 into it, and he said, how do you know all this? And I finally fessed up. But anyway. Rod, have you got a tip for us on this?
And of course, it was not long after that Blakey retired. His self-confidence destroyed by an incident at the...
that was also the event last year where he set a course record for most drumsticks consumed in a week. It was outstanding work from the Gazelle.
Yeah, he's a tall man with big paws. He could pick up a handful at a time. No question about that. I've got no idea who might win. I'm on Ewan's side here. More important than who wins and everything that goes with that, this is the dream. This is a good thing that Augusta National and the RNA do for the world of golf. It creates dreams with all those people you just talked about, Jimmy. One day, somebody from Lebanon's going to make the cut in the Asia-Pacific. It may have already happened. We can't fathom what the impact of that might be on what is, I imagine, a very tight golf community in a place like Lebanon where there wouldn't be a whole lot of it. That's the stuff that creates the dreams that in 20 years' time you talk about. That, to me, that's what this does. So the Australian and Japanese players and the Chinese players tend to have the advantage in this, as we know. I don't know, one of the Australian. Go Jasper Stubbs. Make some history, Jasper. Defend it.
Yeah, there you go. Nice.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with one of the other Aussies, Phoenix Campbell, who looks a tremendous player every time I've seen him. I think his confidence got a bit dented when Daniel Gale trumped him at the WebEx Players Series Hunter Valley last year after he led for 3, most of the tournament in rain and everything like that. I think that dented him a bit, but I think he's coming back. So I think Phoenix Campbell's our one that might win this week. That will just about do us for episode 83. Rod, you've probably got a studio wall or a desk to cut or paint or something now, don't you?
I've got this mess to edit first, Jimmy. The rest of it's going to have to wait.
That's true.
You reckon this is an easy task? Just because I make it look easy, like all professionals. I make the difficult look easy, Jimmy. One day you'll find out.
Oh, well, I'm sure I will. And Ewan's obviously got to get back to herding cattle or mowing or something now. He lives on acres and acres in the Southern Highlands of New South Wales.
Weeding. So much weeding to be done.
Here's the pertinent question, Ewan. Do you have a pair of gumboots at your back or garage door?
Bunnings today, and they will be purchased.
Excellent.
One of many. I could easily go broken there.
Well, you got lots of doors. You can have a pair of gumboots at every door. There's no law against it.
No.
Think about it that way. Yeah, creative thinking. You'll get lots of stuff.
Yeah. Nice. Well, thank you for joining us again, Ports, and coming and bringing some sense to this. Rod, thank you. You can keep up to date on all the action mentioned here and much, much more at the Golf Australia magazine website, golfaustralia.com.au, and we'll be back next week on Playing from the Tips.